The morning that ridiculous $2,500 power bill slapped me across the face like a wet towel from hell, I swear the neighborhood went silent. No kids laughing, no dogs barking, just my blood boiling hotter than a short-circuited wire. There I stood in my driveway in Whispering Pines Estates, boots scuffing the perfect concrete, staring at numbers that could bankrupt a small country, while the queen of the HOA sipped her overpriced latte across the street like she just won the lottery. Little did Regina Voss know, she just declared war on the guy who wired her entire perfect little kingdom before the grass even grew in. Folks around here think I'm just Ethan Carver, the quiet widower with the modest ranch house and the teenage daughter who still believes in happy endings. But this neighborhood? I know it better than my own calloused hands. 20 years ago, when Whispering Pines was nothing but dirt and dreams, I was the lead electrician pulling copper through every attic, bolting panels, and flipping breakers that brought light to these cookie-cutter castles. Half the junction boxes still carry my faded Sharpa signature. So when Regina and her HOA board tried to bury me under a bill big enough to wipe out Mia's college fund, they didn't just pick the wrong homeowner. They picked the wrong damn electrician. It started small, the way these things always do in places where community standards are just fancy words for control. First came the notices. Grass measured at 3.2 inches violation, $175 plus processing fee. Regina would strut down the sidewalk in her white designer heels, actual ruler in hand, heels sinking into my lawn while she scribbled like a dictator taking measurements for a firing squad. Your mailbox black is matte, not semi-gloss. Another $175. Then the garden hose visible from the street. Exterior light too bright, luminosity disturbance. Each envelope landed like a paper cut, slow and stinging, adding up until my drawer in the workshop jammed shut with evidence. I paid what I could, bit my tongue for Mia's sake. It's just rules, kiddo, I'd say, forcing a smile while she studied at the kitchen table. Rules keep everything nice. But deep down I knew these weren't rules. They were weapons. And Regina Voss wielded them like a woman terrified of losing her throne. Her white Lexus cruised the streets with vanity plate HOA Queen. Her colonial mansion at the corner had shutters painted the exact approved shade, porch lights glowing like a stage set, and from behind those lace curtains she watched. Always watched. Tuesday morning the process server showed up before the dew burned off the lawns. 3 sharp knocks that sounded like final judgment. The manila envelope felt heavier than it should. Cease and desist. It screamed in blood-red letters. According to the fancy law firm Regina hired, I owed $2,470 for unauthorized electrical consumption in violation of community covenants. Failure to pay in 10 days meant a lien on my house, the same house I'd wired myself legally safely, the workshop out back built with my own hands so I could fix appliances on weekends and keep bills lean. Through the kitchen window I saw her. Regina Voss in her picture window, delicate china cup raised like a toast, smiling that slow, satisfied, predatory smile. She thought she'd won. She thought the quiet widower would fold, pay up, and disappear. But electricity doesn't lie. People do. I walked straight to my meter. Numbers rolled steady, predictable. I crouched, traced every seal, every sticker. Clean. My panel labeled grounded, perfect. Calculations by muscle memory. Square footage, appliances, Mia's study lamp, the old fridge. Max draw maybe $280 in July. Nowhere near $2,000. Somebody was playing games with the numbers and I knew exactly who. That night the neighborhood slept while I didn't. Flashlight low, boots quiet on gravel, I followed the current. The clubhouse at the end of the cul-de-sac sat dark as a tomb. No events, no lights, yet its meter spun like a Vegas slot machine on jackpot night. Fresh paint on the conduit, sloppy seams, insulation scuffed. Not my work. The line didn't dive into the ground like it should. It disappeared into a fresh trench, loose soil, grass not yet settled. I followed that scar across the greenbelt, heart pounding, straight toward Regina Voss's colonial mansion. In her garage windows a faint glow leaked out. Shapes moved, large, boxy, unmistakable. Industrial kills. 4 of them. The kind that suck power like a black hole. The clubhouse meter wasn't powering bingo nights. It was feeding Regina's secret Etsy pottery empire. She was stealing from every homeowner and pinning the spike on me. I snapped photos, hands steady despite the fury. Evidence. Proof. Regina thought she was clever, hiding theft in plain sight behind community standards. But she forgot the simplest truth in this trade. When you steal electricity, the current always leads home. 3 days later, the mailman staggered up my drive with a stack of envelopes thick enough to choke a shredder. Violation after violation. Mailbox flaking, security camera angle wrong, truck parked at improper angle, exterior light causing luminosity disturbance. Total nearly $3,000 in new fines. That afternoon, a white SUV labeled Community Energy Compliance Group crawled the street. The guy in the reflective vest didn't even know how to read a meter. He sneered at my workshop. Complaints about dangerous levels could cause blackouts. I leaned on the fence, arms crossed. Son, I wired half this subdivision. I know exactly what's safe. His grin faltered. Regina was panicking. Manufactured violations, phony inspectors, intimidation. Classic HOA Karen playbook. But every envelope, every fake inspection, every slip-up was another breaker I was quietly flipping in my favor. I wasn't alone anymore. Midnight runs became strategy sessions. Jake Morales, old trade school buddy now with the utility company, showed up at my workshop with a folder thick as a phone book. Clubhouse consumption jumped 340% 6 months ago. Your neighbor's place? Normal. Hers. It's powering a small factory. He tapped the spreadsheets. She rerouted multiple feeds. You're paying for her kills, Ethan. All of us are. Then came Mrs. Lang, widow of the former treasurer, carrying a battered box of Maria's old records. Regina hasn't held a legal election in 3 years. Every signature forged. Every fine illegal. Mrs. Patel, retired paralegal from 2 doors down, spread the papers across my bench like a surgeon. Financial fraud, utility theft, election violations, racketeering. For pillars, Ethan. We build them right, she falls. Mia sat at the end of the bench, laptop glowing, cross-referencing everything. Dad, look, her own Facebook posts bragging about keeping standards high, while the bank statements show transfers to Voss Pottery LLC. Her voice cracked with both rage and pride. She didn't just mess with you. She robbed everyone. I looked at my unlikely army, utility guy, grieving widow, sharp paralegal, my brilliant daughter, and felt the current shift. Regina Voss had turned Whispering Pines into her personal ATM. But she'd tangled with the man who wired the whole place, and now we were about to rewire the truth. The smear campaign hit like a cheap short circuit. Overnight, the neighborhood Facebook group, once full of lost dog posts and potluck invites, became Regina's personal propaganda machine. Post after post painted me as the dangerous widower running an illegal workshop that could burn the whole community down. Screenshots of my supposed threatening emails. Comments from sock accounts calling me unstable. He's grieving, poor thing, but we can't let emotions endanger property values. I almost laughed. Almost. Because while Regina thought fear would isolate me, it did the opposite. Mrs. Rodriguez from the cul-de-sac showed up at my door holding one of the flyers, hands shaking with fury. She fined me $4,000 last year for a bird feeder that never existed. If she's coming after you, Ethan, she's scared. You've got my support. By Saturday morning, neighbors were comparing notes in driveways like it was a block party from hell. The Thompsons admitted $3,000 in bogus architectural fees. The Parkers confessed Regina threatened foreclosure over a visible garden hose. Suspicion turned to outrage faster than a breaker tripping. Then came the tire slashing. My truck camera caught it all in crisp 4K glory. 3 a.m. Regina in a black hoodie and baseball cap she probably bought at Target thinking it made her invisible. That sharp, impatient stride gave her away instantly. She crouched by my truck, utility knife glinting, dragging it across each tire with slow, deliberate satisfaction. The hiss of air sounded like justice whispering my name. She even paused to admire her work before slipping back into the night. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I let the footage breathe. Let it marinate. Mrs. Patel's eyes lit up when I showed her. Judges love video. Juries love it more. She just handed us felony vandalism on a silver platter. The neighborhood Facebook group exploded when Mia uploaded the clip with the caption, "This is your HOA president." Comments flooded in. "She fined me for holiday lights and she's out here committing crimes? We've been paying this woman to terrorize us." Neighbors who'd stayed silent for years suddenly found their voices. The Rodriguez family posted proof of foreclosure threats over decorations. The Inuans shared $5,000 in fake landscaping violations. Harold Lang, Maria's husband, stood in my driveway as the posts piled up and whispered, "Maria was right. All it takes is one spark. You just gave them fire." By Sunday, the page Regina once ruled had become an open rebellion. Scans of fines, threatening emails, even photos of her ridiculous ruler inspections. One neighbor summed it up perfectly. "If Ethan's the problem, why are 84 of us paying for her pottery business?" Regina's empire wasn't just cracking. It was short-circuiting in real time. Meanwhile, my workshop had become full-on command central. Extension cords snaked across the floor powering laptops, printers, a borrowed projector. Evidence boxes lined the walls. On the pegboard where screwdrivers usually hung Mrs. Lang had tacked Maria's old bylaws like battle maps. Mrs. Patel sorted files with surgical precision. "We keep it clean. For pillars. No emotions, just facts." Financial fraud, $127,000 siphoned to Voss Pottery. Utility theft, those kills pulling supermarket-level power. Election violations, 3 years of forged signatures. Racketeering, intimidation, smears, tire slashing. Together they're unbreakable. Jake pointed at his laptop. "I'll explain the theft in plain English. No jargon. Just how much she stole and how we all paid." Harold's voice carried decades of quiet grief. "I'll remind them what the HOA was supposed to be. Neighbors helping neighbors, not one woman treating us like her personal cash register." Mia spun her laptop around. "I've got every video queued. The jumpers, the forged docs, the tire slashing." When she lies, her own words go up on the screen behind her. I looked at them, my team, my neighbors, my daughter, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger. Certainty. We don't drop evidence. We tell the story. How she bled us with fake violations, stole power to fund her side hustle, and tried to silence anyone who pushed back. By the end of that meeting, they won't just vote her out. They'll want her prosecuted. Regina's counterattack arrived in thick legal envelopes slid under doors across the neighborhood. Cease and desist letters signed by some TV drama law firm. Glossy charts claiming the clubhouse power spike was due to new community safety lighting and HVAC upgrades. She even stapled receipts, shaky copies clearly doctored. But every fake document she submitted just became more evidence of intent. The night before the emergency board meeting, the air in my workshop smelled of solder, coffee, and pure anticipation. We rehearsed until the fluorescent lights felt like nervous heartbeats. Mrs. Patel clicked through slides. "Pillar 1. Pillar 2. Ethan, you close. Drive it home like flipping the main breaker." Jake tapped the meter logs. "I'll make sure even the slowest neighbor understands they paid for her kills." Mia cued the tire slashing video. When she tries to deny it, this plays. I stood in the middle of it all, hands resting on the workbench I'd built with my own 2 hands. "Remember why we're doing this. Not revenge. Justice. Every family here has been cheated, threatened, or silenced. Tomorrow night we give them back their voice. And if Regina doesn't confess, we hand everything to the feds. Prosecutors are already watching." The room went quiet except for the hum of the projector. We'd wired our case perfectly. And tomorrow night, when the switch flipped, the whole neighborhood was going to see the lights come on, brighter than Regina Voss ever wanted. The community center had never been so packed. Cars spilled into side streets. News vans with satellite dishes waited like vultures smelling blood. Inside, folding chairs filled every inch. Residents shoulder to shoulder. The air thick with nervous energy and the faint smell of stale coffee. When Regina Voss walked in wearing her tailored black suit and diamond earrings, silence rippled through the crowd like a dropped voltage. Her lawyer clutched a briefcase like a shield. She still wore that stiff smile, the one that said she believed control was still possible. Councilman Roberts stepped to the podium. "Everything said tonight is on record. Federal observers are present. The word record sent a visible shiver through Regina's shoulders. Mrs. Patel went first, calm and razor-sharp. The projector lit up bank statements. $127,000 transferred from HOA accounts to Voss Pottery LLC. Vacations booked as board retreats. Pool maintenance paid but never performed. These are not errors. These are signatures. These are theft. The lawyer objected. Mrs. Patel cut him off cold. The numbers don't lie. Jake stood next, quiet authority radiating off him. Photos of tampered meters and illegal jumpers glowed on the screen. This isn't sloppy work. This is felony utility theft. Those kills pulled more power than a supermarket. $89,000 over 6 years. You paid for it. She profited. Someone in the back shouted, "That's my money." Murmurs turned to angry agreement. Harold Lang stepped forward last, Maria's binder in his trembling hands. My late wife documented everything. No legal elections for 3 years. Every signature forged. Regina's entire presidency is invalid. Every fine she issued void. Gasps rippled. A woman cried out. She fined me $3,000 with no authority. I waited, letting the weight settle. Then I stood. You've heard about the money. You've seen the stolen power. You know the election was a sham. But her crimes didn't stop on paper. They came into our homes. Our families. Our trust. I nodded at Mia. The projector hummed. The tire-slashing video filled the wall in crystal clarity. Regina crouched, knife glinting, tires hissing. Her face caught perfectly as she looked up at the camera. The room exploded. Shouts, gasps, phones recording. Mrs. Patterson stood, finger stabbing the air. I saw her that night. Thought I was imagining things. The lawyer stammered objections no one heard. Regina lurched to her feet, face blotched red. This is harassment. That video is doctored. But the footage kept playing on loop behind her. Undeniable. She shoved her lawyer off and kept going, voice cracking with years of bottled entitlement. You think I don't deserve compensation? I kept this place from looking like a slum. I worked harder than any of you parasites ever could. Yes, I used the funds. Yes, the kills are mine. So what? Without me, none of you would have prestige. Silence crashed down like a tripped mainbreaker. Her own words hung in the air, damning recorded broadcast. Mrs. Patel's voice cut through ice cold. You just admitted to theft, fraud, and abuse of office in front of 274 witnesses and 3 news cameras. The FBI observer stood. Mrs. Voss, I strongly advise you to stop speaking. But the dam had broken. Councilman Roberts slid the resignation papers forward. Immediate resignation. Full restitution of $216,000. Cooperation with investigators. Or this goes federal tonight. Regina's shoulders sagged. The defiance drained out of her like current from a cut wire. With shaking hands she signed. The scrape of the pen was the loudest sound in the room. When she set it down, applause erupted. Not polite clapping but raw, cathartic thunder. Resign! Turned into cheers. Neighbors hugged. Some wept. Years of fear dissolved in collective justice. Mrs. Patel lifted the signed papers high. Effective immediately, Regina Voss is no longer president of Whispering Pines. HOA cameras flashed. Reporters searched. Regina slumped in her chair, hollow-eyed, empire in ashes. The morning after, the neighborhood felt reborn. No silhouette watching from the mansion window. Her white Lexus sat crooked in the driveway like a monument to arrogance bankrupt. New interim president Mrs. Hendricks posted transparent budgets on the bulletin board the same day. No more secrets, she said. Every dollar accounted for. 2 months later, I stood under bright chandeliers at the National HOA Reform Conference, feeling completely out of place in my steel-toed boots. Mia sat front row, eyes shining. When the moderator introduced the electrician who rewired justice, the crowd laughed and applauded. I held up Maria's worn binder. This is what saved us. Not one man, but neighbors who refused to stay quiet. I walked them through the 4 pillars. Mia closed with her own words. HOAs were meant to protect homes, not steal them. The only way they work is if ordinary people stay involved. The standing ovation wasn't for me. It was for every family that finally stood up. That quiet Sunday at the cemetery, dew still on the grass, I placed flowers at Emily's headstone. Mia stood beside me, taller somehow. Mom, you should have seen it. Dad and we actually spoke at a national conference. I knelt, throat tight. We stopped her, Em. The whole scheme gone. Whispering Pines is finally free. And Mia, she's thriving. Talking about renewable energy microgrids. She's going to make sure no one else gets cheated like that. Mia squeezed my shoulder. She'd be proud of us, Dad. I nodded, blinking back the sting. Yeah. Proud of both of us. We didn't just fight back. We rewired the whole system. By autumn, the community garden bloomed where Regina's kills once hummed. Kids laughed between tomato rows. Monthly meetings became potlucks. One Saturday night, Mia gathered teens in my workshop, spreading blueprints for a neighborhood solar project. These panels won't just save money. They'll make us energy independent. No one will ever steal from us again. Later, under strings of porch lights, neighbors gathered for the first annual Community Day of Transparency. Harold raised a glass. To Maria, her records lit the spark. To Ethan and Mia, who carried it until the whole neighborhood burned bright with truth. Cheers rose, warm and genuine. I stepped to the mic, hands callous but steady. Bullies thrive when good people stay quiet. Regina thought she could divide us. All she did was push us together. And once neighbors stand shoulder to shoulder, no tyrant can hold them. As Mia and I walked home, she slipped her arm through mine. Dad, you didn't just keep your promise to Mom. You kept one for everyone here. I looked at the glowing windows, laughter drifting through the air, and smiled. No, kiddo. We all did. And for the first time in years, Whispering Pines didn't just feel like a neighborhood. Felt like home. So here's the question that keeps me up at night, and probably should keep you up too. Was Regina Voss really the villain for protecting property values, the only way she knew how, or was the quiet electrician the real problem for refusing to stay silent and exposing the entire rotten system? Who was actually wrong here? The HOA Karen who stole power and fines from her neighbors, or the man who wired the truth and flipped the switch on her? Drop your verdict in the comments. Because in Whispering Pines, the current finally flows the right way, but the debate? That's still live.